Hello, everyone. First, I just want to apologize because I speak Portuñol, and I tried this before, and it didn't work because I think that all of you are understanding, but at the end, it just sounds that you are understanding. So I will be presenting in English. However, if you have a question or anything, you can say in Spanish, despacio, and I will understand, okay? I understood perfectly, okay? So first, I'm very happy to be here for several reasons, but there is one that is very important because 2 years and a half ago, I was supposed to be here. And, you know, I remember, and I was very excited to have the chance to be here, and suddenly the world just collapsed and everything shut down. So for me, personally, it was something like, you know, in your mind, a pending business, you miss. And when Juan and the colleagues invited me to be here, I said, let's make it happen and let's do it. So I'm very happy to be here. And what is the topic I want to share with you? It's more on what the future look like for all of us in terms of project management and which kind of ability, because for me now, what is important in the next, I would say half an hour, 40 minutes, is for you to think on not only on your organization, your enterprise, but on yourself. Means, okay, I am in the middle of this, in some ways, hurricane, and how will I evolve, no matter if I am Gen Z, millennium, how do I evolve? Because life will not choose where we are. We just need to find a ways. And I need to start, of course, by sharing with you. Let me see. No, it's not. I can use here. Oops. Okay. I cannot avoid starting showing the COVID. And of course, you all know what happened. But what is the biggest point of COVID? Is that if we go back 80 years, this was the most profound event in our society in the past 80 years. I would say if you have not lived the World War and this, I'm talking in global perspective. You know, suddenly the world just shifted. And I don't want to say that the world changed, okay? The world is changing since the world is a word, okay? But what happened with the COVID is that the perception of time just flipped it. Things that we were expecting it would take 4 years suddenly became 4 weeks. Let's give the classical example of working from home, right? Before that, working from home was something, I would say, a little bit strange, a little bit, you know, too millennial, right? And now society put a dilemma to us and say, you have two options. You go home and work from home, or you don't work. Right? Even the most conservative working environments, they had to adapt to that. And these also at the same time created for all of us. Oops. Yeah, it's not moving. Yeah, let me just, for some reason okay, now it's moving. And this brought to us also a lot of, I don't want to say side effects, but a lot of perceptions of what is going on with our society. War in Ukraine. Who thought about that 3 years ago? Right, 3 years. Evergrande Group, I don't know if you have heard about. Evergrande Group is the largest Chinese infrastructure company. China, 50% of all savings of the normal Chinese people are in real estate. Evergrande collapsed. And this is You have no idea. This, just Evergrande, is probably larger than all construction companies in Spain, plus Portugal, plus probably half of France. And it just collapsed. And everybody is expecting what the Chinese government would do. The third one is this, I would say, this social complexity of our society, right? For example, in Brazil, you all saw, we have a big fight on using masks, not using masks. And mask, instead of becoming a public health thing, became a political orientation. Oh, you wear mask, it means you are on this side or that side. And at the end, a massive change in the business environment. For example, retail, stores, because it shifted. And I need to tell you, in Portugal, for example, just I want to give you a real example. I moved from Denmark to Portugal in 2016. At that time, when I had to buy Amazon, buy anything online, it was hard. Second, Amazon Spain, that is the one that serves Portugal too, had a very limited supply. It was not big as the others. 5 years later, now, I can buy pretty much everything at Amazon Spain. I can have them delivered to my home free in 2 days in Portugal. I can buy grocery, everything, and having them delivered to my home. I'm saying this was a massive change, and this change will not come back. And I want to show you one thing. Every time we think about that, I want to say it's always very easy to look back and try to understand what happened. It's very easy for us now to blame certain actions during the pandemic or blaming some actions in the past. But it's not very hard to see the future. And I want to show you this that I use always. And I'm super happy to say this to you today, because yesterday, just 24 hours ago, I wrote an article about this, exactly this, that was published at the London School of Economics Business Review yesterday. And I'm telling you firsthand, right? Firsthand, the final chapter, because what is happening is I'm telling this story for a couple of years. But every 3 months, there is a new slide with a new chapter, right on that. And why I want to show you this? Because we all know how this story ended. We all know the story between Blockbuster and Netflix. And now I want you just to go with me and think that you are a senior executive at Blockbuster. And you see this chart. This is your business, and the red one is Netflix business. Remember, in 2000, you received an offer to buy Netflix for $50 million, and you declined because you said that the concept of shipping and receiving was not a very good model, because most of the business of Blockbuster was based on late fees, right? If you see the Rita McGrath book, Seen Around the Corners, she has a full chapter about Netflix. And she said how a company can have the largest source of profit by hurting its customers, right? Because who wants to pay late fees? Nobody, but the business model required you to be late. And then when Netflix came to solve this late fee problem. Then in 2007, they started streaming. At that time, nobody thought that streaming would be possible. Oh, it's impossible to watch a movie. There is no speed, there is no connection. So at that time, imagine at that time, you sitting on the board of Blockbuster. You are in a challenging environment, but you are still a $5 billion company, right? You are still on a $5 billion company. But What happens today with the word? It happens this. It took 1 year, one single year, from 5 billion to bankruptcy. Done. Done. Now it's very easy for each of us to say, to create something like 20 reasons why Blockbuster failed. And this comes my challenge now. Now, imagine you today. You are Reed Hastings, the CEO of Netflix. And I have a question. Would these companies become a challenge to Netflix dominance? Right? Because Netflix is the disruptor. Netflix is the cool company in the block. Netflix is a trendy, for example, there is a book of Netflix that is excellent from Erin Meyer and Reed Hastings called No Rules, Rules. It's about the culture of Netflix. Just to give you a highlight of this culture, very easy. Step one, there is no hierarchy to make decisions. Every single, if you are a developer and you need to buy something, you don't need to get approval. You just need to respect one rule. One rule. You act on the best interest of Netflix. Full stop. This is the only principle that you must to respect. There is no holiday. There is no vacation. You take as many days as you want. If you want to take 100 days, you act on the best interest of Netflix. This is the only thing. This is the only. There is no working hours. It looks, when I tell this, it looks like paradise, right? Imagine you arrive, you leave. And this was, I would say, a perfect desire of company. But then, this perfect environment, I watched it. I was in Vancouver in 2018, and I saw Reed Hastings' interview at TED. You know, and it's so brilliant. Imagine you having thousands of employees. They are all, self-managed. You know, everybody's responsible. Everybody is ethical. It's like working in paradise. But April 20, 2022, this year, for the first time, Netflix said, I'm not growing the subscriber base. I'm reducing 200,000, and I will reduce 1 million. I was cautious on preparing this presentation to take actual news, okay? I went online and I took actual news. Netflix lost subscribers, but it's something larger. New York Times, Netflix shares plunged 35% in one single day. 35. Look, I'm not talking about a tiny company. I'm talking about billions and billions in just one single day. So, look, biggest fall since 2004, drops, slumps, and look, what was the perception? Is that maybe Netflix was becoming the blockbuster, right? No, I'm saying, why not? Now it's the time. And you know, if you read this, most of that, the reason was Disney Plus. And let me tell you, how old is Disney? Right? And then this is the concept. It's the disruption of the disruptor. Right? Right? Because because it's very easy for me to say, oh, there was a traditional bank and then a fintech opened an online banking and crashed the big bank. Right? This is the normal story. But then when we see Disney growing dramatically, Disney is now becoming bigger than Netflix. Then at that time in April, I wrote an article and saying, wow, Netflix is in trouble. However, next week, last week, October 13th, Netflix grew 2.4 million subscribers. When I read that news, I said, oh God, this is the pure and simple roller coaster. And this is the reality we are living in. And I just use Netflix as an example because probably, 2 months from now, I will have another slide and say, oh, look, that's 2.4 million were all fake. You know, I don't know, because when I saw this on the news, look, on the news, look, reversing, massive turnaround. Now, Reed Hastings, the CEO, became like God on the business. But what is the underlying thinking? I don't want you to think about Netflix and this, but this is just a snapshot of the world we are living in. The world with such a high unpredictability that no matter the projects we do, no matter where we work, we need to change and adapt our approach. Because that notion of control, that notion of stability that we are all educated to handle, to control, it just doesn't exist anymore. For example, we are talking now, remember February, Ukraine. Ukraine is a perfect example too, right? Ukraine, I worked 5 years at the UN with leading a very, very large group of delivering humanitarian projects. I know war. I know from my heart. I have been to Afghanistan, Iraq, all these places. When I saw that mobilization of Russia, I said, Russia is bluffing. Then Russia invaded Ukraine. Then I said, Ukraine will fall in a matter of days. It didn't fall. You know, and look, I'm not naive. I live and work on that type of environment. I lived and work. So what is happening? So something different is happening. And this is exactly one of the reasons of the book. Do you have the book here? I have one too, but yours is easy. So what I did, together with Professor Kessner, and thank you, my friend, and Al Zaytoun, we released this book. And what we did, we came to speak with around 40 companies, and we tried all sectors, all areas, all business, from the Dubai municipality to Sunrise, to banks, to IBM, trying to understand what is going on. What is going on, right? What is going on? How do you manage this kind of transformation where you just said 90% fail? 90. Look, this number. Imagine that you are a doctor, and out of 10 patients, you fail with 9. Right? Imagine you construct buildings. Oh, out of 10, 9 collapse. You know, it's just a number that it's not unacceptable. It's above and beyond that. Imagine the amount of money that is trashed on that. So what we did, so we created this concept of 10 pillars. So we tried to understand, okay, in 10 different areas, what is going on. So first, strategic delivery. And this aims exactly to discuss one thing that, look, I did my PMP just out of curiosity in 1998. So something like 24 years ago, right? And at that time, the key aspects of being a project manager was deliver on time, on budget, what was requested for you to do, right? You need to build this, you built on time, on budget, done, you did your job. It doesn't matter if you built something that is useless, but you did your part. It's not your business. You received a charter asking you to build that. You built. What happened over the years is that this is not what project management is about. Project management is all about, you said this very, it's all about the outcome. Okay, what would be the benefit, the aim, what is the end goal? It may be money, it may be impact, as you said on the Henry Gunn. It may be money, it may be impact, but you need to go above and beyond just the simple delivery. And this is exactly what we asked several companies and say, how do you see that? Second, humanitarian social missions. This is for me, of course. Look, I am a businessman. You know, life was, I was very blessed by life, okay, in my whole journey. So when you think with me, when you receive an invitation to be the global director for project management and infrastructure at the UN, and you leave your business, you leave everything, you move with your family to go and do just humanitarian. It's a sense of purpose. And I will talk because millennials, I have two daughters, 23 and 18. My 23-year-old daughter, she do not want a job just for salary. She wants something that fulfills her, something that, you know, she will make money, of course, but she wants to do more. When I graduated in 1995, I was not fortunate of having this view. I was, you know, I need money, you know, of course, legally, ethically, but but I don't care if you are not so nice company. But now, for example, Balik industry that produce guns, they are facing challenges because many very competent people, they just don't want to work for them. Facebook, since 2016, is facing a massive challenge because many people do not want to work for them because of their values. I'm just using this as simple examples to you. So we'll talk. Innovation and the massive amount of innovation that we are facing now. Digitization, so everything becomes more and more online. The way you manage, and we spoke a lot about the way you manage the project. Then comes Mural, Miro, Monday, you know, every single week there is something new on that. Evolving skills, and these I will talk a lot soon. What are the skills we need? Leadership forms, the new style of leadership that we need to foster to deliver this kind of projects. You know, I will explain later, but you need to see that it's a much more visionary and participative leadership. It's much less, I tell you what to do, but let's discuss on what to do. Project way of working, these are methodologies, process, for example, as you said, how do you use agile, hybrid, you know, and the good project men know how to navigate in these both oceans easily. Adaptive frameworks, so you need to adapt all the time to the frameworks you are using. And at the end, PMO and governance that we are talking a lot, and how do you measure this success? Basically, of course, I can speak here for hours on that, but what I want just to share with you some of the findings for us to discuss and to shape our discussion here. So the first group is on this, I would say this group, okay, of strategy and the ways of working. Which are the findings we saw on that? The first one is the focus on value. This is the principle number 4 of the new PMBOK for those who like to use the PMBOK as a reference, but every single company is not evaluating the value of the project at the beginning of the project. Because what was common? You have a great idea, What do? You prepare a nice business case or whatever you want to call this document, and you get approval. That approval means go for it. But in the changing environment, what happens? Maybe the value just disappears over time, right? The value is very high now, maybe it's very low 3 months down the road. So how do you evaluate in a permanent way? And one of the key things I want you to go home with this thinking is that I love a quote from Goldratt. Elianu Goldratt has a book called The Goal, and he's the father of critical change. And he has a quote that for me is one of the best quotes. It's, when you are inside a hole, quando está dentro de buraco, stop digging. It's simple like that. Do you know why? No, let me explain to you, because this is super important. When you are in a project, and after 6 months, you know things are not good, but what you use as your judgment, we already spent 6 months. We already spent $2 million. We cannot waste this. Then you stay 6 months more. And then you stop here and say, now we lost 1 year. And we lost 3 million. You know, and this is the permanent focus on value. Permanent. And you must be brave. Very brave. And some of these companies were to kill a project when the project does not deliver value. It can be on time, it can be on budget, it can be running low risks. But if one of that lines do not deliver the value you expect, just stop. And I need to be truly honest. I have been managing many, many projects. I saw this in very, very few times, because people are not brave to decide on that. You know, are not brave to decide on that. And this is a paradigm that you need to shift. So all the time, every single day, am I delivering value to the company with this project? The project you are doing now, today, are you delivering? And this is this paranoid focus on value. This is why, for example, I disagree a lot with companies doing digital transformation. Oh, it's a 5-year program of this. Look, in 5 years, the world flip it 10 times. And then in 5 years, when you say, you did what? Because what you did, what was relevant 3 years ago, it's not relevant anymore. You need to do a digital transformation in 3 months. It does not need to be an enterprise-wide where you change everything, but you need to collect benefits very, very quick, because the scenario changes all the time. Look the scenario of Facebook. Facebook today the stock dropped 22% in the aftermarket yesterday. My daughter, oldest daughter, she became 14. I always tell this story. The best day of her life, I told her, let's open for you a Facebook account. And for her, it was like, now I'm a member of the modern society, right? Because my wife and I, not 14, 13. My wife and I, we're, in some ways, we try to be a little bit strict and try to curb that. So 13, we opened her Facebook account. She was in delight, right? Then, 4 years later, my youngest daughter became 13. And imagine Gen X. Yeah, I need just to look at the table again, but Gen X, I think. What I did, Gabriela, 13, let's open a Facebook account. Do you know what she said to me? Dad, Facebook is for old people. No, I'm just saying, look, 4 years in an ultra disruptive market that is social media. So what is important? So what is the value? And this is why, for example, today, Facebook is facing such a... Look, we will see very, big challenges coming from Facebook. And it's not on the way they deliver projects, it's not on money, because they are very rich. But what they're doing is not delivering the value that the shareholder and the society is expecting from them, and others are doing. The second, and this for me, I go exactly to what Philip said on the hybrid in the middle and a cascade and agile on the other. You, as a project manager, all of you, what is critically important for you is to have a Swiss Army knife, that tool. For example, I did my PMP in 1998. However, I am Scrum Master since 2009. I am SAFe Consultant since 2018. I am IPMA Level A Direct. I do all certifications. Why? All certification, all methods, all. If you create something, I want to learn. Why? Why? Because every time I learn something, I'm adding a new tool to my Swiss Army knife. And I'm more prepared, because real life does not follow methods. Real life is real life. Methods are ways that we try to frame reality. It's not because you are managing the project that the project will want to be managed. You know, right? And what you are doing the best approach to curb that environment. So what is important? It's important that you stop thinking that, okay, a waterfall or cascade is old and now it's all agile. It's not. I would love that real life was like that. It's not. Every single case is a different case. Every single scenario is a different scenario. Every single team is a different team. So what is the key competence for all of you today? And what is the key competence for a good project manager today? It's exactly to have this diverse set of skills. This diverse, really, to do. For example, I'm talking to you today. Here, there is a cultural aspect, there is a style and a way. Next week, I'm in Saudi Arabia. That is a complete different mindset and approach. If I do not adapt my approach and the way I deliver, I will not succeed. There is no way, because this human interface, the complexity and the movement is absolutely different. So we need to have this, because if you have only one tool, it becomes very hard for you to survive on that environment. And we saw this. All cases, they said, what do you use? Most, I remember one interview with Sunrise, he said, clearly he said, we use everything that works. We use everything. And if it stops working, we shift. We shift. You know, we are not attached to any specific method. Third on this, increasing, use of disruptive technology. Pretty much all the companies are doing experiments, solid experience with AI, solid experience of automated scheduling, with a lot of experiments on resource profiling. And this is something that I like very much. What is resource profiling? Is that lady working in team A produce much better results than lady working with team B. So if I put lady in different squads, lady produce at different levels. So what is this resource profiling? It's how I build teams using algorithms where I create, I would say, a potential, for growth. Because, for example, look, we are approaching the World Cup, right? The football. Did you see many times that there is a brilliant player, a genius, you put to play to the national team? He cannot play. He does not play at the level he used to play in his original team. Why? Why is that? Because the legs are the same, the speed is the same. I'm talking, he's not hurt. Why? It's because the squad you put him. Because, you know, when you have this synchrony, that he knows, oh, the ball will come to me at this speed, with this spinning. You know why? Because I did this, because I know this team. And this is becoming a massive, and people will use this even to recruit. This will be a massive shift, because this will create teams, you know, very powerful and interactive teams. And you will, instead of, for example, firing the person that does not meet on that team, maybe that person is in the wrong team, not the wrong company. You know, and he or she can go to another. And this is the use of disruptive technology. Another thing, it's about personal compensation using AI. For example, we all know that at the end of the project, many times you have a bonus or any reward for the end of the project. But what we are doing now, I am at the advisory board of a startup in Estonia that is working with small increments rewards. So what do? You create the plan or you create the sprint and you create tiny rewards, not necessarily financial, okay? It can be a donation, it can be half a day off, it can be, you know, a ticket to the movie, it can be a donation to an NGO, and this all based on AI. So I create this micro stimulus for you to perform. Instead of you looking, okay, I will have a reward just after 2 years. No, I will have a reward this Friday, this next Tuesday, you know, and then you create this concept of micro rewards. And these are the stimulus. This is happening now, okay? These will disrupt completely the way we do the job and the way we would motivate to do the job, okay? So these are just simple examples to you. Another one, the concept of change. I was, as Gen X, I was educated that in a project environment, change is not good. Because you have, imagine a train on the track. The track is the plan. The train is the execution. So what do you want? Okay, don't derail. Stay on track, right? And what you do? Move here, slow down, speed. You know, what do you want? But what is the problem we face now is that there is no such a track anymore. You know, the track is very clear now and then start fading and you don't know. You have just a direction of journey. Did you get what I'm saying? It's very hard for you to identify in every single project a point in the future for you to point. No, you have an area. You say, oh, I'm going into that direction. And then you allow this fluctuation. So changes are not only welcome, but they are evaluated in a holistic way. Many times we look change just on the conformance of our project. Oh, with that we will delay 1 month or 1 week, or we'll spend $100,000 more. But we need to understand in a holistic. Let me give you an example of that. When Mark Zuckerberg created Facebook, I'm sure, and I want really to take this in a very good faith. He wanted a social platform to connect people. He didn't create, oh, I want to create a social platform to spread fake news. But what happened is that if you do not evaluate in a holistic way, this is what happened. Right? This is what happened. You need to understand not only what is happening now, but what is happening 3 years down the road. There is a documentary that I would suggest, it's on YouTube from Wall Street Journal, about the global shipping industry. The global shipping, the shipping of containers. We all saw the rise and the collapse that started with the blockage of Suez Canal last year, I think, and it's up to now. Do you know when this started? COVID. Do you know why? Because half of the ports of the world were open, half of the ports of the world were closed. Then the ships left China that was open, stopped in LA. They unload the containers, but they did not put the empty containers to the return. So what happened? 6 months later, there is a massive imbalance. Do you know that? Do you know that? That I would say 70% of the problem of the global shipping today is lack of containers. There is one part of the world full of empty containers, basically in the US, and there's another part of the world with no containers. And nobody wants to send a ship to pick up empty containers. And people watch the Wall Street Journal. You will get scared for that. And they said it will take 3 to 4 years to adjust. To adjust. And this is why, do you know, the shipping cost, it's now almost 3 times the shipping cost before COVID. So this is holistic. For example, we will see the snowball of COVID happening in our society 10 years down the road. If you have a children that is at this, that was studying from, I would say, 5 to 15, they were very hurt. We, honestly, we were on the best possible situation. Who suffer most? The young and the old. Because the young, imagine you with 6 years watching classes on a computer for hours. And you need to stop, listen. It's impossible. And we will see in the whole society the impact of that. And this is for sure. So we need to understand every time we move a piece on our chessboard, we may see its impact 50 moves ahead. And this is the secret. For example, every time I'm thinking on a project, I'm always trying to figure out, okay, how things would be. And if things turn this way or that way. For example, risk management, for me, is identify risks. Yes. Respond to risks. Absolutely yes. But one of the key aspects is to be prepared for the unknown. This is the biggest thing. If you and your company are prepared for the unknown, and I did this exercise another day on a big talk. I said, look, imagine that something very disruptive happens in your professional life today. Imagine that you have a job and you lose the job, or you have a contract or you lose, or the company you work with collapse, or the company is related to Ukraine and they throw a nuclear bomb in Ukraine, or something like that happens. What will happen for you? And this exercise will help you to figure out how I am on this ever-changing environment. I know, look, this is just one step before you get paranoid. And I'm sorry for that. No, I'm sorry. I'm not saying that I like this. But this is just the pure and simple reality. Most of my clients, I work with massive, massive capital projects. Oil, energy, and this, I would say, multi-billion-dollar projects. People need to figure out what will be the price of the oil in 2045. Because if they do not have decent gas, they cannot understand if it's viable or not. Because just to build an oil refinery, just to give you an idea, takes, if you are excellent, extremely competent, you will build in 6 years. If you are normal, you'll build in 10. So 10 years just to start and turn on the engine. And then imagine you turn on the engine and the oil is 15. right? So how do you do that? So you need to understand it, and this is a competence that us as project, you need to think, what happens if I lose 3 of my key team members in my project now, today, not 6 months, today, what will happen? Because this can happen, right? So these were one of the findings on that. But now I want to go on the findings on leadership skills and the way we govern these projects. First, a key competence today that address what I just said is what we call complex thinking. So if you want to study one topic, I would strongly recommend you to study system thinking, system dynamics. And what is this? Is the complexity. And this chart is true, okay? This is the system thinking chart of the war in Afghanistan when the IDF, the US, was in Afghanistan. Every single arrow here is a relationship. It's just to see how things are far more complex than a normal cause and effect situation. And this, for me, for example, if I was creating an MBA course in project management, one of the disciplines would be system thinking, complex thinking. How do you unpack thinking to unpredictable events, unpredictable relationships? We never thought. Look, I think, is there any Brazilian here? No, right? Okay. You had no idea of how was COVID in Brazil. COVID became a weapon in the country, a political weapon. Half of the country saying COVID is bullshit. It's nothing. It's just, and half, no, it's not. It's not. Half, if you use mask, you are weak. Or if you don't use, then you are brave. It was like that all the time. And then it was far more than a political movement. It was a view that our society was far more conservative than it was on the external layer. Did you get that? Sunday is election in Brazil, by the way, okay? It's one of the most polemic elections that we had since the democracy in Brazil. So just to give you an idea, you know, you saw the Amazon, we were talking about sustainability, you know, and this. But this is not the current president of Brazil. This is 3 layers deeper than that. It's far more complex. Ukraine war, it's not just, it's far more complex, the war today. Because it's not a matter of Putin loses. No, because Putin will not lose. Putin may die, but lose he will not. He will not. This is not an option for him. And then, okay, will he die carrying everybody together with him or no? This is the complex thinking, right? This is the chess. So what is important? I'm doing all these examples, but in your project is absolutely the same. Because you are not moving alone. You know, you are not moving alone. When you move a piece here, the other one gets affected all the time, all the time. So you need to pay attention on this complex thinking. The second one is visionary and participative leadership. What is that? Is that in all these companies, the concept of structured hierarchy has lost its effect. Something like, do what I'm telling you to do. It doesn't work anymore. People want to be listened. People want to participate. People want to have their opinion. And if you do not create this environment You do not motivate people. If you do not motivate, you do not deliver at the end. It's not just because you want to be good people, a good person. You know, why, for example, Google gives all this freedom to people, or Netflix? It's not just because they are nice people, right? What do they want? They want, okay, if you're happy, you work more, you give me more profit, right? It's a simple equation. And this is the trend. This is the trend. If we look to these millennials, they don't want to be told. They want to learn. It's different. They want a leader that inspired them so they can learn and they can progress. Another, lean governance. Oh, it's every single case, every single one, Mayo Clinic, AB InBev, all of them. How do we reduce layers? How do we simplify things? You need to approve a procurement. You need to approve a process. You need to do something. How do you do with fewer steps? Because there is a complex way between A and B and a simple way. So how do you simplify things? There is no room today for you to, okay, I need to buy something, you need 12 signatures. It doesn't exist. There is no space more for that. You need really to make people accountable and create a lean. So this is why, for example, organizations today, in project organizations, they are becoming more and more lean. In agile, there is no such a role as a project manager. The Scrum Master is like a coach. He or she is not the boss of the team. They are all working together. It's what we call SDWT, self-developed working team. Means I know what I need to do. You are just orchestrating us to work together. But I don't report to you. We don't report to each other. We are a team. If things succeed, good for us. If things do not succeed, bad for us. It's simple like that. Flat structure. Flat. And when I say that, it has a massive implication on what I will say now. Power, politics, culture. Right? Because, okay, I love, let me tell you one thing that I love. I love France, okay? I love France. But when Macron got elected, his first term, he got elected to promote change. I voted, means the French vote for change. Then he got elected and say, let's change. No, you are changing. It's like in your company. If I ask you today, does my company or my organization needs change? I would bet, if not all, 99% of the people will raise their hands. And then I will say, okay, it's change. Let's start for your area. Then you say, no, my area. No, my area is okay. Everybody else is not okay. Because there is a power. There is a power that happens to me and all of us. So you need to understand that this lean governance is above and beyond that. My last block, now people. Okay, I said strategy, I said governance, I said leadership, but then I need to say, okay, what is happening to people? Because we are very different today than what we used to be in 20 years ago. Oh, absolutely. It's not just age. It's the way we see life. And first one, and this is ultra important for you to understand, is the sense of purpose. I will publish, I'm writing together with AB InBev. AB InBev is the large brew company in the world. And they did, okay, I'm suspicious, but for me it was probably the most brilliant article on the book about their humanitarian initiative. During the crisis of COVID, they shifted from producing beer to produce alcohol, sanitation alcohol, using their process to do beer, but to do this. Then they took all the oxygen that they use on the pumping system and they ship it to the north part of Brazil. You remember when at the Amazon, people were dying, many of them, due to the lack of oxygen. So they ship it and they use the trucks and the ships that deliver beer because they have a massive network. So to do that. And this became the case on the book on the humanitarian. And the director, Juliana, she said to me, Ricardo, you had no idea. People didn't want to go home. People want to take their own cars to take sanitation. They said they felt a sense of, now I know why I should exist on earth. This sense of purpose. Second example I want to tell you, my daughter works for Revolut, my oldest daughter, okay? She takes care of global mobility at Revolut, the bank. And you remember that 4 weeks ago, Russia blocked young people from leaving the country because of the war, because of the reserves. She worked around the clock to get visas, working visa, including in Spain, and to take these young Russians out of Russia in safe, so they were not going to the war. Her and her team brought 300 Russians at war age, I would say, because these are 25, 23, 24 year old outside. Imagine her happiness. Imagine the sense. It's not just the payroll at the end. So what is important is that your teams, you, have this sense of purpose. This happiness and joy of doing what you are doing. And this is key today. Second, imperative need to move from fragile to agile. Fragile, when a glass falls, it collapses, it crashes and fall apart. Many people think that the opposite of being fragile is being robust. Means, let's make a steel glass. Then when fall, it does not break. However, anti-fragile is someone that improves with the fragility. And this is the dandelion, is a perfect example. It looks like a very fragile flower. However, on every single piece that flies becomes a seed. And this is why this is a plague. Because every time you do that, instead of destroying what you are doing, you are helping the dandelion to multiply, like the mussels. So this is one of the topics that I'm studying most recently, is how you can create a more anti-fragile team. It's not a robust that will resist to the shaking, but someone that will improve with the shaking. It's like your muscles. Do you know when you go to the gym and do weightlifting at the gym, what you are doing? You are hurting your muscles. You are breaking them. And why you are doing this? Why you are making them suffer? Because when they reconnect stronger. And then you become stronger. Right? You will never become anti-fragile if you have a very relaxing life. And this is the stress we are living in. So how we can transform this in an anti-fragile environment? And this is a big challenge. But who can do that becomes really very powerful. Of not resisting, but living in this volatile environment without having depression, and all these side effects. And this is a big, big challenge. Complete redefinition of work-life balance. Complete. Because now, even more now, working from home, this becomes really almost impossible for you to dissociate. And I want just to give you an advice on that, that you should think. And this, I said this on one of the interviews I did, is that for me, this is personal. You don't need to agree with that. For me, there is no such a thing like work-life balance. Because at the end, for me, there is only life. So if you have work-life balance, it's very challenging for me because you say, okay, I will start living just when I leave the work. You know, it's like, for example, today, now, here, right? What I'm doing, I'm living or working, right? And I'm very fortunate because I love what I do. I love, you know, being for me here, it's like being with friends, talk, and I really love. And this is the redefinition, because otherwise, life becomes really miserable. So how we can define it, and this, when you have the sense of purpose, and this, for example, when I'm here, I have the sense of purpose, because not all, but if one of you take one message and make something super cool in the future, for me, it's a winning. And this kind of feeling, that is important. And this is absolute, because for me, I believe the concept of working hours, the concept of working from home or from the office, the concept, very challenging, of fixed payment and compensation will change. I'm not saying for the good, but will change. And will change, and we'll be alive to see. Okay? And we are already seeing that. And of course, I could stay here forever, but he will not allow me to stay. So where do you find more? Of course, I didn't come here to talk about the book or to sell the book, but what I did, Al Zaytoun and I, we did, and it's on this rvarg.as/nextgen. We did 7 interviews, 45 minutes each, with the cases. So we picked 7 cases, including the Ambev and this, and we spoke with them. Say, what is up? And then you can watch these on YouTube. They are widely available. If you go on this, you can choose and pick the area you want or watch pieces. And this is very important to give you some additional insights that I may not cover on that. Some very specific from IT industry, from governments, etc. And now my 2 final slides. What is my final advice? Now it's my opinion based on my experience and what I saw in these different sectors. If I can leave you with one competence that you should look for, is adaptability. If you ask me, Ricardo, what I need to focus, just one thing, adaptability. Means become more fluid and adapt to the different circumstances. It's not control, it's not planning, it's not reacting, it's your ability to adapt to different things. For example, if it's to work this way, you work. If it's to move, to work in a different team, work in a different project, this is adaptability. And this, for me, is absolutely, every time, I talk a lot with my 2 daughters, okay? We are friends. And I tell them all the time, because, of course, do you know what my oldest daughter said to me when this China stuff happens? He said, Dad, I'm in panic. Look the chaos of my life. My life is messed up. And do you know what I said to her and said? Did you imagine the chance that life gave to you to help these people? You should be so thankful for having the opportunity to do that, because this will not change their life, but it will change yours too. And this sense of adaptability, and this, for example, why I tell people, you need to travel, you need to see different places. We were talking just about that before. See different people, meet different people. You know, talk to people that do not share the same values of you. You need to understand, because life is not so predictable. And these will help you to deliver the project, because the project will not follow your plan, will not. And my final quote, and this quote, a friend shared with me, it's from a writer in Brazil. And for me, honestly, this quote has stuck in my mind in the past, I would say 2 or 3 months. I think about it every single day, and I put a post-it on my agenda for it. And this is the quote. When we think we have all the answers, life comes and change all the questions. You know, for me, this is for me absolutely the portrait of the world we are living in. You know, we think, oh, now I know. No, no, but now this is not this question anymore. And this is the sense of what I want to share with you about adaptability. So my final slide, I have one thing that I want just to share with you. This is very personal. I did a project. My daughter in July 2020, she was crying at home during the pandemic because she was on her third year at mechanical engineering at the Imperial College in London. And it's traditional that at the summer break at the third year, you get the internship that becomes your job the year after. This was the routine. And then what happened in 2020? No internship. And then she was crying, saying, oh, you know, I worked so hard, you know, the world is falling apart in front of me. And then I started telling her about success, failure, because I come from a very simple family in Brazil, about all of this. And then I said, you know, you are so fortunate of having and being raised in a family that loves you and, you know, that supports you. And then I thought about my colleagues in Brazil and say, no, you may have raised in a slum with no parents, you know, and you will not benefit. So I recorded a series, and this series I recorded in Portugal. It's 4 episodes, and this is absolutely nothing related to my work, but just about career and what to expect in life in this changing environment. And this is perfect for the young generation to do. So I did this for her, and one of them is in the Douro River, in Portugal. So I did because I'm passionate about wine and talking about passion, roadmap, options. How do you develop and become more anti-fragile on this? And this has nothing to do with business. It's on my YouTube channel. This was not sponsored at all. So I did this just because really I wanted to create this impact. Okay? Look, thank you very, very much. Sorry for